you're 100% right. I think learning and development professionals are caught in this almost perfect storm a lot of the time of having to wear 10 or 20 different hats, because they're marketers, they're data analytics experts, they're learning experts, all these different things. And then, like you say, they're also very, very it's got very affected often by external factors in the business, and things are called upon to move quickly when stuff does shift or change. The pandemic, what an example that is of how quickly learning and development had to react and change what in many businesses what they were doing overnight. So yeah, no, you're spot on there. And for me, resilience is the ability to recover and adapt from adversity, tragedy, trauma, all that kind of stuff. And I think humans are remarkable at this. So you only need to turn the news on to see bad things happening and people reacting in a remarkably resilient way. I always felt it was personally a tricky one to prepare for until I met Liggy. Actually, she definitely helped me on this. But I think I really believe you only get to develop resilience during those inflection points in your life. So when things are going bad, when those external factors come and knock you sideways, when you're up against it, it's that set of decisions you make at those points in your life that make the difference. So, do you react emotionally or reactively, or do you take a step back, take a more holistic view, and make a more informed and practice kind of decision? And I think one of my favorite quotes from the series is, we can't control the things that happen to us, but we can control what we do next. So our next move, and that kind of epitomizes resilience. It's really easy for me to sit here and say it. In practice, it's really hard to do. And I've struggled with it in the past, making those good decisions at those times. Liggy actually in the series talks about well-being and self-care as a way to improve, and I hadn't really thought about this. It was quite enlightening for me, but I was like, you're absolutely spot on, because the better you feel physically, emotionally, the more balanced, the better place you're in when something does come and sideswipe you or hit you around the head. You're going to be in a far better spot to recover, to handle it, to make a better decision going forward as well. So well-being, self-care, looking after your mind, looking after your body, eating well, exercise, all the normal stuff that everybody knows about, that we all struggle to do enough of because of the demands of our jobs, etc. And I think it actually, that one for me, my second, I guess, tip, or one of the things that came out of the conversation we had was extending that to the network of people that you have around you as well. So people that keep you centered and grounded, and actually things and doing stuff that has you centered and grounded as well. So hobbies, sports, all this kind of stuff contributes to that better physical, mental well-being place that you need to be in to react accordingly. So yeah, I think one of the big things I learned from Liggy, especially around resilience, and she's a real expert in this, is that whole, just how closely well-being aligns to how you actually develop this particular skill. So yeah, that was one of the big things for me.
No, it's interesting hearing you say that, because for me, I think dealing with change and becoming resilient to it is about putting yourself in the right spot to deal with it. And personally, something I used to find really difficult is if feedback about something I was really invested in was bad and it required wholesale changes, then if I reacted to it straight away, I would react very emotionally and actually wouldn't process it very well, and it wouldn't help me become more resilient. So added in a buffer that, I'm not going to look at this again until tomorrow, and then I can try and be more objective about the feedback. And actually that objectivity makes me focus less on it as a wholly negative thing, or really drill into the negatives, and then I can say, right now I'm more able to process it, and therefore I can act accordingly. And I think you're right about how quickly you can deal with change. That also means you can react faster. So if you know you need to bake in a day to maybe process it, and then that you can act more objectively, you're in a better position to then act quickly and cope with that disruption and build that resilience. So personally speaking, I think adding in a buffer, or recognizing with self-awareness what doesn't help me be resilient or respond to disruption is a big thing for me.
Yeah, and just, turn those failures into learnings, like you say. And it's not, don't see, I mean, I'm using the wrong word there. Don't see them as a failure, see it as an opportunity to learn. So funnily enough, we, just before we went live with the webinar you mentioned, we had close to 500 people registered for that. So it's quite a big one. We couldn't get, for some reason, and we've used Zoom webinars loads of times before, but we couldn't get something went wrong with it, and we were like 10 minutes from going live, and we're like, oh no, what's going to happen here? There was like a minor technical bump, shall we say? And and Liggy turned around and said, you know what? That's she's like, if we're being resilient here and we're turning this into a learning opportunity or a positive, she's like, if we hadn't been able to go live, we would have been able to email everybody and follow up with a really nice edited recording, because we could have recorded it separately. And so, and she was kind of, it was great. She was kind of actively coaching me through the kind of developing resilience in that moment. We went live and it was absolutely fine. But it was, it was those kind of, it's that mindset of actually being able to flip something over and say, okay, so what, in this horrible or negative kind of situation, what is the positive? What can we learn? How can we grow? What's the opportunity here?